Hi, Leo Augusto. My name is Pedro. I live in Sao Paulo, and please draw me wearing a red and black sweater.
So this story happened when I was 9 years old.
Well, when I was in third grade, I always walked home and took a shortcut. Because the street my mom told me to take back scared me. The houses were abandoned, but only my mom's friend's house had people living in it. The others, no one. Remember this because it will be important for the ending. One day, I couldn't take that shortcut because there was a Sabesp renovation and it was blocked there. So I went through the bizarre way. My mom was going to be waiting for me at her friend's house. A caramel-colored dog showed up and started following me. I don't know why, but I didn't even do anything. It wasn't trying to bite me, right? So it's all good. When I was almost there, the dog started scratching the door of one of the abandoned houses. I kept whistling, trying to get him to come out. I swear, Leo. A pale hand swiftly opened the door, grabbed the dog, and closed in a flash, moving at an inhuman speed. Whatever that thing was. It captured the little dog violently, man. I just heard the growls and it was over right away. Just a matter of seconds. I ran out of there and called my mom. Before going in, I looked at the house where the dog was dragged. I saw a skinny old man with red eyes staring at me through a gap in an old curtain. Unlike your stories, my mom and her friend believed me. Her friend said that a long time ago, a crazy old man used to live there. They caught him and took him to a nursing home. When he got out of the asylum, he had a breakdown and killed himself by sticking his thumbs in his eyes. And he died from bleeding, right? That must be why his eyes were red when he looked at me. But the saddest part of this story is that two twin brothers came to my door with a picture of that missing yellow dog. I just slammed the door shut because I felt bad telling them what happened. I hope this helped your channel, Leo. Take care. Hi Leo, my name is Pedro. I'm 16 years old, but I'm going to tell you about a disturbing event that happened when I was 14. Well, it was about 8 o'clock at night and I was at a friend's party. We were playing on the cool rides, you know? And after that we went to eat cake after the party. Everyone was leaving. It was around 11 at night, so I said goodbye to my friend and started walking home, you know? It was about a half-hour walk from there. I live in a rural area surrounded by woods, and my house was about 2 kilometers from his. I thought it was strange because on the way, the atmosphere went from calm to tense. A strong wind came up and I ended up picking up the pace, right? The moon was lighting up the dirt road and the wind was shaking everything, man. The trees were moving like crazy and all that brush was making noise. When I looked at the clock, it was midnight. I thought, that's it, now I'm screwed. When I get home, I'm going to get beaten up badly. My dad told me not to come home late. That's when I heard the sound of horse hooves hitting the ground. It was like it was getting closer to me. I turned around and didn't see anything. I started running faster until the sound of galloping came back. And I felt something knock me down, man. It happened so fast. Was it some kind of weird monster attacking me? That's when I saw a man dressed in black riding a black horse. He was wearing 19th century clothes. He came up to me and said,
"Get off my land or I'll take you!
With me."
This doesn't belong to you. Get off my property!"
I ran quickly, man. I got out of there fast. And when I got home, my mom was waiting for me with a slipper in her hand. So I had to explain the whole story to her. And she told me something that terrified me. That man was the spirit of a plantation owner who died around there a long time ago. And that on some full moon nights, there's a chance he might appear, you know? He could be seen by people and something bad could even happen, you know? She said I was lucky to get out of there alive. When he was alive, he would always wander at night looking for his runaway slaves and would capture them with the help of his horse. After she told me that, I never went home alone again. Mom, Knowing this story and that the night was a full moon, why didn't you come pick me up or tell me this before? Oh, my son, I just forgot, you know.
Hi Leo Augusto, my name is Giovanni. I'm going to tell you a crazy story. I'm 11 years old now, and this story still haunts me to this day. When it happened, I was 7. We lived in my grandmother's house where almost the whole family lived, except for my father, who wasn't present in our family life.
One day, my sister argued with my mom because she said our father was at the gate. My mom, on the other hand, denied it and said he had passed away some time ago. However, I also saw him at the gate saying he would come to get us. My eyes filled with tears, and that gave us hope. We hadn't seen him for a long time. He was dressed in a sloppy way. You know, with worn out and kind of dirty clothes. At the same time, I thought it might just be my imagination. I couldn't really remember how long it had been since I last saw him. Did my mom make up that story saying he had passed away, but actually he was still around? Does he have problems with alcohol and my mom is just trying to protect us? One day, while I was going to school by bus, I saw my dad sitting next to me. He was looking at me, and when I went to hug him, my hand went right through him as if he were a spirit. That scared me. Months later, we moved to another city and I went to a new school. That's where I became friends with Mateus and Jorge. At this new school, my friends told me what the place was like and also a bizarre story involving it. I heard rumors that a janitor had died after jumping off the terrace for unknown reasons. Since my mother had worked there at the school, I decided to ask her about the janitor. She said she knew about what happened and asked me, if the janitor were your father, would you cry? I said yes, but I kept thinking about it, like what's that supposed to mean? One day at school, Matthias and I decided to eat up there on that terrace, you know? Which was on the 3rd floor. While we were there, I saw my dad. He looked kind of sad. He walked up to the ledge and jumped off. That really scared me, man. Matthias asked me what I was looking at since I was frozen and kind of shaking. I made up some excuse and got out of there. When I got home, I asked my mom to transfer me to another school, but she didn't do it. However, after a year, she finally granted my request. After that, I never saw my father's spirit again. Thank you for reading my story, Leo. I hope you enjoyed this bizarre story from our subscribers. And if you want to send a story to appear in this segment here, just send it to this email, inscritosleo@gmail.com, alright? I'm going to wrap it up here, okay? Bye. Hey, I'm Marcinho. Leo, I'm going to tell you a story that really shook up our neighborhood. My neighbor Leo woke up feeling sad one day. He was an exemplary guy. He had never missed a day of work in his 15 years on the job. Always punctual and dedicated, but that day something changed his mind. When he looked out his window, he noticed it was rainy, right? It was chilly outside. And he decided it was time to do something different, to break the routine of decades. He turned to his wife and said, "Today I'm not going to work. I've never missed a day in 15 years. And of course his wife didn't question it after all. He was known for his diligence. Then his cousin, who's a bit wild, showed up with the idea of going to the neighboring cities so they could have some fun. Although he was reluctant at first, my neighbor decided to go along. However, he preferred not to drink that day, right? He stayed sober to enjoy the outing. As they drove down the highway, the atmosphere of the day seemed to weigh on them. Perhaps a sign of what was to come. After a few dozen kilometers, they were going about 80 kilometers per hour in a Fiat 147. In a moment of madness, that driver there decided to overtake the red car that was in front, right? Without realizing that a plant truck was quickly approaching ahead. The red car sped up more than expected, forcing them to brake sharply to return to the lane. Unfortunately, their little Fiat couldn't keep control and crashed into the back of the red vehicle, man. As a result, it was a tragic rollover. 2 of the occupants didn't survive the accident. The delay in their return home made the family worried, man. After countless phone calls, the survivors gave news and informed the family about what happened. After things became clear, the family was waiting for the bodies, which were expected to arrive around 8 in the evening. But 8 o'clock came, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 in the morning. At 3 in the morning, the news arrived that the hearse that was going to pick up the victims, overturned with the 2 bodies just 15 meters ahead of the accident site. They had to send another hearse to pick up the bodies that went through 2 accidents at the same place. Leo, the guy who missed work, never made it back home. Is that right? Only the woman who went with him survived. After all, sometimes a simple change in your routine can have unpredictable consequences. Guys, I just released another comic in the store. Cartoon Cat vs. Siren is a story that takes place in a land destroyed by these bizarre creatures and shows the battle between these 2 titans. Who will be the winner of this battle is the big question we all want to know. And if you don't know, we have the story of Leo and Grandma in an adventure against the forces of evil. Children from the neighborhood are mysteriously disappearing. What could be happening? Will Leo and Grandma be able to solve this mystery? We have other comics too. Add the store's WhatsApp and we'll be here to help you. Hi Leo, my name is Henry. First of all, thank you for choosing my story. I'm your fan. Everything happened when I was at a cemetery with my grandparents cleaning my late uncle's grave. I hadn't met him because he passed away long before I was born. First, they swept the leaves and dust that were on top of the grave. We fetched water to wash off the moss that was growing there. I got around 10 buckets of water from the corner spout, right? After we cleaned up, we said some prayers. And my grandparents asked me to get the flowers from the trunk of the car. So I got them and decided to come back by a different path I hadn't taken before. I saw the grave of a boy who was born in 1999 and died in the 2000s. The passage was blocked with a tape. Then, just playing around, I kicked a little stone that was on the ground. And it hit right on the child's photo, man. I laughed, thinking nothing would happen, right? But when I was going to my grandparents' place, I started to feel a tightness in my neck, like something was choking me. At that moment, there was no one around. I looked back with a lot of difficulty, and there was no one there. What could have happened? So I got desperate, and I just remember my eyes closing without my permission. When I woke up, I was inside the car going home. My grandparents said I was lying on the ground and they found me a few minutes after I disappeared, right? I asked them if they saw anything strange there. They said no. And they attributed my fainting to physical exhaustion and the strong sun that morning. After all, I carried a lot of buckets and did a lot of things. I still believe it was something supernatural that knocked me out. The next day, my father wanted to go see his brother's grave, so I went with him and my mother. I passed by the place where I was hanged, but that child's grave was no longer there. There was some renovation or something like that going on. There was only a big hole and some tools around. Then I saw a guy approaching. It was the grave digger. I asked what happened there. He said that area was off limits and that no one was supposed to get close. He pretty much kicked me out of there. I asked if there was a ghost. He just kept looking at me seriously and didn't say anything else. I never returned after that day. My parents want to visit my uncle, but I always refuse. I'm not crazy. I don't want to go through that again. Hi Leo, I'm Janilson and I live in Pernambuco. The story I'm going to tell you happened when I was 10 years old. It was around 4 in the afternoon, and I had just finished helping my dad with chores around the house when some friends called me to play soccer at the field. At that moment, I felt really lazy because I had worked all day with my dad, man. I just wanted to rest, you know? But I ended up agreeing. They said some other kids had a brand new ball, man, and it was way better than the one we had. So we went to the field. There I saw there was a new guy around. And when I say guy, I mean he was already a grown man. He was the one who brought the new ball. I didn't know him, so I just kept watching, you know. He was wearing kids' clothes that barely fit his body. I thought that was weird. But there are all kinds of crazy people these days, right? The weirdest part was that during the game, he acted like an animal, man. With every contested ball, he came in destroying everything, man. There was a moment when he kicked my friend's shin so hard, he almost broke the guy completely. This adult is playing like he's facing giants? Are you insane? We're only children.
I went for the ball, see? Clean play. Game goes on, guys.
I got really mad, man. A guy with a bone structure like that is just not fair. I complained, saying he couldn't do that to a kid.
Are you implying that I'm too old to be playing here with you guys? Do you know how old I am? The same age as you guys. Stop making excuses not to play with me, kid.
I kept quiet so I wouldn't get in trouble. The game went on, but with that bad vibe, you know? I don't even know why I came here, man. I could be at home, just relaxing. Then he kicked the ball really hard right in my friend's face. Dude, it was getting out of control. This guy is going to end up destroying us. I gave up on soccer and said I was going home. But the guy didn't want to let me leave the game. The other friends saw what was happening and said they were going to leave too, that they were going to stop playing, you know? And that's when the thug started attacking us. He started kicking us. One hit me in the ribs and I fell to the ground. I was on the ground for a long time trying to recover, man. Luckily, a man was passing by and saw what was happening. He threatened to hit the guy. He was holding a stick, you know? We managed to get out of there, kinda limping. We survived that bizarre episode. The guy said that when they got to the field, this guy was there dressed in kids' clothes, asking people to play soccer, you know? But nobody knew him, where he came from, or why he did that. Funny thing is, months later, I heard a story about a man in kids' clothes beating up some kids at the neighborhood playground, man. I'm sure it's that same crazy guy. That video was shared by Wagner, Maite, and Pietro's dad. Man, his story is creepy. Listen, he told the story himself and sent it to me. Check it out. Check it out.
Hello, Leo. This is Wagner from Rio de Janeiro. I once visited Guarapari, Espírito Santo. I went to my aunt's house, and at my aunt's house I was talking with my cousin. But I never got to meet my uncle. I never got to meet him, but even so, I went to my aunt's house. I talked to my aunt and my cousin. To get me a glass of water, she told me, "You can go there, my cousin." I went to the kitchen. Suddenly the lights in the house go out, all of them. Then a little while later, when I'm already halfway to the kitchen to get some water from the fridge, something unexpected happened. I bumped into something that felt like a person. And this person came to embrace me. At first, it was just my aunt, my cousin, and me at home. Conclusion of the story, I went back to the living room. Right after that, the power came back on. My cousin then asked, "What's wrong, cousin? You look pale and quiet. What happened?" Then with some effort, I said, "Look, I went to the kitchen. I went to open the window to get something and felt like I bumped into a chubby person. It was like a spring effect. I hit and bounced back. Even so, I didn't lose my thirst to get water from the fridge." I returned to the living room and they began sharing extensive details. My aunt started to cry. Then I told her what I had experienced in the kitchen. The conclusion of the story is, it seems like it was the uncle I never got to meet. It was terrifying, Leo. Take care.
Hello, Leo. My name is Murilo, and my story takes place 2 years ago when I was still in 5th grade. I used to have snacks alone or with a friend until one day I saw a new boy I had never seen before. Intrigued, I approached him. "My name is Murilo. What's your name?" I asked. The boy seemed sad and confused, but he answered hesitantly, "My name is Lucas." Curious, I kept asking, "How old are you, Lucas? And which class are you in?" He looked at the floor before answering. "I'm 11 and I study here in class 5B. I was surprised. I had never seen that boy at school before. He was wearing torn clothes at the back door of the school, where we students usually aren't allowed to go. If a boy came in wearing clothes like that, he'd be really embarrassed and everyone would laugh at him. Maybe that's why he didn't come in and just stayed out there, right? Even so, I invited him to have a snack with me. I offered him a piece of my sandwich, right? And to my surprise, he accepted and devoured the whole snack, man. He was hungry. He said it had been a long time since he'd eaten one of those, he murmured, justifying himself. After that day, we met during break several times. I'd offer my snack, and he'd always accept, with an expression of gratitude mixed with sadness. It seemed like that kid was going hungry at home, man. That's the only explanation. There's no way it could be anything else. The guy was starving every day, but after 2 weeks, he didn't come back anymore. I went to class 5B, which he said he belonged to, right? But nobody knew about this boy, Leo. It was as if he didn't study there. So I asked the principal about the boy, and she seemed surprised. She showed me a photo album where I identified him, and she told me something unbelievable. The album was from 1996. She said that the boy I was looking for was no longer with us. He had been run over by a bus right near the back door of the school. She said that according to witnesses, he was in a hurry to get home and have lunch with his mother because he was starving. But when he got closer to get on the bus, he ended up slipping and falling under the tire, man. I never saw that boy again, and that year was my last at that school. Thank you for reading my story, Leo.